So now let's see how we're going to retrieve the orders from the database. In the order controller, I'm going to create a getOrders method, which will return a list of orders. And the code is similar to what we've done before. We have a list of orders, which will come from the orders DB set in the products context. And we have to include all the collections and sub-collections associated with it. So for that, we're going to use the include method with a lambda expression to include the order products. And then we can use the then include method to include the products associated with each order product. And finally, we can use then include to include the categories associated with the products. That's because we're going to use this same list to get one specific product, and we will want to show the name of the category for that product. And of course, we need to return that list. Then in the order service, we need to create a method that will be quite straightforward. We have the getOrders method, and it stores the list of orders from the controller, and we'll pass that list into a method that we're going to create in the user interface, the showOrderTable, and let's create it using the method generated in Visual Studio. And then we can go to the user interface and implement that method. I'm going to copy and paste the contents of the show category table into the show order table and modify it accordingly. Now I want to show an extra property to the user, and that's the count of products. Notice that we created that column here, and we also added a new row. So I want to show the user the count of individual products in this order. And if I just use the count property as we have here, this will just show a count of each product and won't take into consideration the quantity of these products. So instead of using count, we need to use sum, and we will sum the quantity for each product, and that's stored in the orders product table. And that should be enough. Let's run the app and see if we can retrieve the list of orders. So first I'll add a new order. So I'm gonna get 3 cappuccinos and 3 apple juices. And if I go to get orders, I can see the list which has just one order. And we have the date, the total count, and the total price correctly retrieved. And now let's see how we can get just one order. This one will be a little bit more complicated, so let's get started. Let's create a getOrder method, and we will need to create a new supporting method called getOrderOptionInput. And in this method, we need to present the user with a list of orders, which will come from the controller. Then let's grab some code from the category service in the getCategoryOptionInput. We're gonna copy and paste from lines 47 to 51 into the getOrderOptionInput and change the names accordingly. And I'm gonna show the order with a few elements, instead of just showing the ID, which wouldn't be very helpful to the user. And I'm going to use that string array to show a prompt that the user can select. Now, previously, when showing the categories and products and telling the user to choose one of them, we were using an array of strings that had the names of these categories and products. And it was easy to use the single method to get that option from the categories collection or products collection based on the name, as you can see here on line 35. However, now with the orders, we are showing a complex array put together using string interpolation and using the order ID, the created date, and the total price. So I can't directly use that string to pick an order from the collection. Instead, we're going to extract just the order ID from the chosen string and grab that order from the collection based on that ID. Let's see how we're going to do that. So we're going to create a new variable that will store the option, and we're going to split it based on a character, which is the period. So this means that it will find all the periods in my string and split it in multiple strings. And notice on line 31 that we have just one period, and that's right after the order ID, which means that that option will be split in two. The first part will be the order ID, and the second will be the rest of the string. Then we'll be able to get the order based on that ID, which will be the first string in the string array that was created using the split method. Of course, we need to pass the string into an integer since the order ID is an integer, otherwise we can't compare it. So this is not quite straightforward. If you're struggling to understand this part, put a breakpoint in the get order option input and check the code step by step. So now that we have the order, we need to grab all the products related to that order. And these products will be in the order products property of the order. And for that, we're going to use a DTO, and that's a data transfer object. DTOs are used in applications when we want to modify the data coming from the database so that we can keep the database pure and use different data representations of a table in the database as we need it. We're going to call it product for order view, DTO. And I'm going to copy and paste the properties which I had prepared before. So in this object, we're going to have all the elements of the product, but also the total price and the quantity. So we're putting together data from different models into this DTO, and that's the purpose of a DTO. So now for each order product, we're going to use the select method to create a new product for order view DTO object. And let's populate this object with our properties. So the ID will come from the order products itself, which is represented by X. The name will come from the product. The category name will come from the category inside the product, inside the order products. The quantity is in the order products. The price is in the product object. And the total price will be the quantity multiplied by the price. And of course, this needs to be a list. And now that we have the order object and the list of order products, we can pass them to the user interface. So we're going to need two new methods, the show order and the show product for order table, passing the list of DTOs. So let's generate these two methods. And I'm going to copy and paste the code in the show category method into the show order method and change it accordingly. And in the show product for order table, I'm going to add all of these columns, which I had prepared in advance. So I'm creating this table object, and for each product in the list of products, I'm adding a new row with a product. And the last part contains the usual methods console.writeLine, console.readLine, and clear. Then we need to add a new option to the order menu, the get order option, and modify our code in the user interface. In the orders menu, add the get order option to the choices, and then we need to create another case in the switch statement. And in that case, we'll call the get order method in the order service. And we need one more modification in the show order method. We need to remove the last 3 statements because we want the product table to be shown together with the order table. So let's see if it works. I'm adding a new order. And we have a couple of orders to choose from. And if I pick an order, I can see the order and its products with the correct data.